by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. All that I crave when you're away, nights are sleepless. Do we need space? Yeah, maybe a break. Boy, you're my weakness. Give and we take, the love that we make, it's my favorite drug. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. You got me feeling some type of way. You make me wanna stay in all day. You're the reason I can't get.
Kia ora e te whānau, no mai haere mai, te kirikiriroa Hamilton for this, our streamed semi-final match on Field 2, Day 2 of the New Zealand Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships. My name, as always, is Blair Monroe.
And my name is Emily Stone.
And we have a phenomenal performance here for you today. We have the thus undefeated HAMMERTRON Fusion, who went 4-0 in pool play and did a great job in their quarterfinals to bring them to your semi-final screens, facing off against their nearest neighbours, the Mount Stingrays, who we saw an absolute crowd favourite yesterday, their performance against Kindred. So really good match up ahead for you today, and we're going to be kicking off in just a few moments. So we've already got our 7 on the line for HAMMERTRON Fusion. Marcel, Wilson, Bertram, Brassington, Dio. That's Richardson and Palmer. Facing off against some really, really solid Mount players that we should be pretty familiar with. We've got Anna Ringstead there. Everybody's favourite, Jake Martin in the middle. Hugh as well. I believe that's Haley Dodd on the near sideline as well. Hands up already. They're asking for a disc. Everything running to schedule apart from the one thing that defines Ultimate as a sport, 175 grams of round plastic. And so we can see a little bit of a dance-off starting there from the Mount Stingrays. And to be fair, Emily, we saw yesterday during their half-time that it was that dancing that really set them up for success to put on such a performance in the later stages of the match.
It really brought them some energy there to claw themselves back into the game, losing only to Universe Point to Kindred there. So definitely putting up a wonderful fight there. And that fight has obviously paid off as the pool goes up for the Mount versus HAMMERTRON Fusion for the semi-finals.
And speaking of Kindred, we're actually seeing them on our other streamed field facing off against Australia's Bigfoot, having upset the otherwise undefeated Manawatu. But Vaughan Wilson putting a big shot up, looking for Palmer early. Great attempt there by Ollie Pugh. Some good pressure. as a general rule, defense wants to go early because it can be enough to throw off the rhythm of the offense. A beautiful put by Wilson. A HAMMERTRON staple at this point. We're seeing a vertical stack from the Stingrays. Pew setting up at the very back end of the zone. It's going to be cutting aggressively under. Nice high blade. Dio having to weave through traffic to get there. Martin catches the reset. Goes back to Kate Wilson. To Martin again. Some nice give and go work. HAMMERTRON not able to shut it down just yet. Danica Wilson continuing through to Martin. Puts the big shot up. Looking for Inkstead. And a beautiful score to put them on the board. Stingrays up by 1.
And for the first point of the game, being a break, that is massive for the semi-finals, where stakes are so high.
Yeah, huge work there by the Mount to put that one on. Just huge aggressive pressure in that defensive end zone. Able to generate that turn early just by going ahead of time. The Stingrays will definitely be happy with that. Looks like we're seeing most of those same players return. Although we're adding Bevan Pugh to the mix as well. Cheeky tumble there. Good to see as well that the Stingrays have managed to dial that in. They've used Ringstead as one of their really solid deep receivers throughout the course of the tournament, throughout the course of her playing career. As we saw on the stream yesterday, I think they had 3 attempts they weren't able to connect with. They either sort of overthrew, put it outside the back end of the end zone. So good to see they've managed to dial those in. I think the conditions being a little bit more stable probably helping. There's not a huge amount of wind just at the moment. But it'll be interesting to see what they do defensively. We've seen some really great zone structure from Stingrays, but HAMMERTRON historically play a lot of zone in terms of their defense, which means they have a lot of experience in terms of zone offense. It'll be interesting to see how these two styles match up together. Number 66, Marcel. Early reset to Alex Dio. It is going to be a zone defense. We've got the 2 Wilsons and Ringstead up the front. Wilson going to Marcel. Some nice quick give and go. Looked off in favor of a reset. Up and over, upside down. Dio catches it. Quick spin move back to Wilson. Varley's available as an option, but it goes to Dio through the zone. Marcel unmarked far sideline to Varley. Quick 1-2, backwards and forwards. Big fake to Dio again. There's too much movement. Marcel there, Wilson available near sideline. Lawrence is the continuation. Varley's an option. Not just yet. The zone slowly closing down those windows on the near sideline. Wilson with a big fake, give and go. Works with Varley. They're eating up yards a couple at a time. Calling for Varley to clear out. Marcel aggressively steps through. Dio. Can he finish it here? Lots of backhand options. Decides to go back to Varley instead. Eyes need to be on the disc for this quick work to be successful. Lawrence goes wide, finds Marcel. Through to Wilson. Comfortable score, clean hold, number of passes.
Managing to find that really, really tight gap in that zone there and putting away that score.
And absolutely, I mean, the Stingrays weren't able to generate a turn on that point, but they forced a lot of passes, and ultimately that's what a zone is supposed to do. You stack together enough of those, even high percentage passes, anything less than 100% is an opportunity for errors to creep in, and they will compound. Great patience on display by HAMMERTRON. I think starting to get a little bit dicey. Players calling for others to clear in a hurry, so maybe some miscommunication, but they're able to make it work. One of the perils of a side like this, when you look at the way that HAMMERTRON has kind of stacked their team, there's a huge amount of handling experience available to them. So it doesn't really matter who they've got on the line. They'll have at least 1 or 2 throwers who have the confidence to work through a zone and start putting up some long shots. It'll be interesting to see how Stingrays respond now. Ten minutes into our 90 minutes, the score is 1 apiece. Jaden Frost with the disc for HAMMERTRON Fusion. Big left hand, nice high pull. Fielded by Hughes, working with Masters in the handler set. Some nice give-go as zone defense coming down. Simone ball, the middle of that 2-3-2 zone. Switching around, mixing things up, looking to transition into an arrowhead. Connor Rocard with the disc now. Puts it up. Masters using his height. Goes over Kapoor with a laser shot down the sideline. Not enough, but it's outside the hands of Alyssa Reed. A great channel, a good find. Two HAMMERTRON defenders trying to get in the way, but it's not enough. And yet just outside the hands of the intended receiver. Bit of heartbreak. We'll see how they work back the other way. HAMMERTRON's hex structure, we can see setting up in a 2-3-2 offensively. We've got Jaden Frost in the middle. Andrew Johnson, Alex Dio as the two upfield players. Starting to clear out. Just shaping around those different triangles, trying to find separation. Masters on the back foot. Frost has got it. Ball in pursuit. Kapoor with a bit of separation. Not going to be an option. Covered by Connor Rockard in the deep space. Andrew Johnson goes to Dio on the far sideline. Kapoor with some give-go, getting involved. One hand take right on the doorstep. Hoping to put it away. Decides to offload backwards instead. Alex Dio takes to the skies. Little hop, skip, and a jump. Putting that one away. 2-1 Fusion over Stingrays.
Saw some great movement, some quick movement there, but didn't look very panicked, so really calm, even though they were playing very quickly with the disc there. Really using those fakes there to throw off the defense to get up that shot there.
Just trying to get Byron McCormick to look just in the other direction to open up a bit of a window. Decides instead to go up and over the top. Can you just tell Michael, it's 2-1 the other way, bud. Fusion defense coming out again. Micah Miller, Frost, Ball, Bertram, Mossop. Kapoor back on the field as well. Hoping to get involved once they can, if they can generate that turnover. Hoping to add another assist. Ball with the roller pull, touching down around halfway with a little bit of a skim right in front of our sideline cameras. What a view you've got. Nixon to pick up and initiate. Through to Hughes with a one-hand take. McCormick's getting involved. We're seeing the handlers getting crowded. Hughes not with a lot of options, goes back to Linton. Option going wide. Masters trying to quarterback off ball. Great work there. Huge take there from Mackling. McCormick stretching into the deep space. Hughes getting involved over ball. Masters. Miller with his head down on that hard run, giving a small window. Linton there is the reset. Goes back to Penny instead. Hughes back into it. McCormick cutting in. Frost. He's got it. He's a threat in the deep space. Putting it big, looking for Kapoor. Bertram needing to continue that run through as an option. Looking for Micah Miller instead. And a travel called on the throw from Kapoor. Frost again. Goes wide to Kapoor. Penny on the disc, marking.
And we're seeing such patience here with HAMMERTRON treasuring that disc and making sure they're really putting in the work and the effort there to punch this one and make it a score.
Some great zone defense, though, from the Stingrays, trying to arrest that ability to move the disc quickly. Bertram to Miller, to Frost. Not many options for him. Finds ball in the midfield. Miller, despite a great attempt by Linton, is going to put them up again. Hammertron Fusion 3, Stingrays 1.
And seeing that one again. Those lovely passes and then that follow on.
Andy, do you know Megan's surname? Appreciate you. We'll do it. All right, Hammertron to come back out on defense, up with a couple of back-to-back breaks. The Stingrays led with a break, which was a fantastic performance from the Mount. Hammertron have then proceeded to answer with a hold and then 2 back-to-back breaks themselves. So their defense is doing a great job generating those turns and managing to put away those conversions. But it's still not going to be an easy match for them.
No, and we've seen Stingrays come back from a lot further in between.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things as well, when you've got a team who's relatively new, in terms of their chemistry, not necessarily in terms of their individual experience, but watching how they gel together over the course of a tournament, a team is not often the same team on day 2 of a tournament that they were on day 1. Especially when they don't have as much, I guess, experience or history as others. So Allen recenters to Linton. Goes back wide to Allen. Big shot up, looking for Ringstead again. Touches down too early. Bertram in hot pursuit. It's going to be a turnover. Stingrays have given the disc back to Hammertron Fusion. And so far, we haven't seen Hammertron Fusion make many mistakes. Here in Marcel, quality throws, puts one up, looking for Wilson. He's got separation, and the read. Brassington putting the absolute burners on to be a free option. Goes back to Wilson. They're on the doorstep. All the players having pushed through. It's Marcel again. He's an overhead option here. Goes for the blade, finds Varley with the run through. Verbeek in hot pursuit, but it's not going to be enough. Varley effectively playing with only one hand at the moment. Putting body on the line to bring Hammertron to this semi-final match. Having gone 5 straight wins across the field.
Some great disc movement there after that big huck went up. And Hammertron doing a really great job of getting down there to support their teammates so they could secure the score.
That's ultimately what it was. I think it's something that I mentioned yesterday, this idea of a lot of teams, particularly early on in their careers, have this habit of disc watching. They'll see a huck go up, and you kind of just wait. You watch it floating through the sky, and you think, yeah, Brian will pull that one down. And then Brian does, and his defense is right next to him, starting a stall count, and you're on the other end of the field. And while Usain Bolt could probably get from one end of the field to the other in about 4.5 seconds, most of our ultimate athletes take a little bit longer, and at which point most of that stall count has been eaten up. And the easiest way to circumvent that is just have everyone chasing down the disc while being mindful of space, setting themselves up in a good position for continuations if the throw doesn't have the legs to get the score in one. Hammertron are currently up by 3 now. They're going to be coming out on defense again. Linton, Allen, Hughes, Penny, Masters. Masters with it in a horizontal stack. Threading it through, finds Rockard. Rips it, but it's low. Alex Dio, former soccer player, old habits die hard. No, hockey player. Wonder if he was a goalie. Big fake. Great zone structure from the Stingrays. Mossop coming through from behind to move the disc forward. Dio doing a lot of dominator work. Got Ludlow stretching it deep. Johnson to Mossop.
Doing some great work to not let that zone really set up in front of that disc there. Finding those pockets and those continuation cuts off those.
Miller,
Just not quite into the hands there.
Miller trying to continue up the sideline. One of the first mistakes we've really seen from HAMMERTRON after that initial break by the Stingrays. Will be interesting to see to what extent Masters and the Mount Stingrays will be able to capitalize. Again, up and around, finds Rockard. He's going to be a little more patient this time. Verbeek's gone deep. He's an option. Can they get it in the hands of someone who can push it all the way to the end? Linton to Allen. Oh, Allen in power position with a Micah Miller overcommitment. That's a recipe for disaster, but the defense are able to stop it down. Johnson with a one-hand touch. Oh, that was an opportunity for the Stingrays, one that's a little bit squandered. Dio gets it from Johnson, the zone structure setting up in front. Dio goes to Mossop, some give-go around the front of that zone. A low scoop to get the defense out of the way. Mossop still there. Johnson option 2. Can push to Ludlow. No, a tumble. Can they finish it here? Overshooting Penny on that near sideline is going to be a no-go. Dio right in front of the defensive corner. Johnson picking apart the zone. A big wide step out and a foot flash from Hughes is enough to shut down that upline huck. Kapoor doing some of his best work in that handler reset space. Nice few meter passes, lots of foot movement. Going backwards and forwards, weaving through the Stingrays defense. Dio falling back for an easy option. Quick give goes. Kapoor back in the mix. Dio takes the dishy. There's a channel to the near sideline, but they're not able to find it as the Stingrays close things down. Goes back to Johnson. Brun is an option on the near sideline. Back to Kapoor instead. Maybe she's just too free. Drops to Dio. An option to come wide. Decides not to. Penny closing the jaws. Goes back to Johnson. Far sideline. There it is. Managed to find Zeta Brun. Back to Dio. Johnson again. Mossop taking the up line. Oh, couldn't quite get it into Ludlow's hands. Slight miscomm there. It's going to give the Stingrays a chance. Masters looking for an early shot to Allen as he drops back into the handler space. Converts to an upline instead. Hughes abandons the handler space as well, so it has to go wide to Linton. Verbeek's there, but Johnson gets in front. Micah puts it up. It's low, but it's in Johnson's hands. Who's there for support? The stall count starting. Miller jogging through. We need a bit more pace, calls Johnson. Bounces off Kapoor to Micah Miller for the score. HAMMERTRON Fusion 5 over the Stingrays 1.
Seeing that block again, that run through, and then that continuations through, and getting that separation there and taking that one home.
And that's what Andy Johnson does. He's sneaky. There's a reason his hat's backwards, is because he runs too fast for it to stay forwards for long. Catches a bit of the breeze, spins around. Great finish by Hammertron Fusion there. And a timeout called, likely by the Stingrays. They're down by 4. They had a great early opening to the match with a nice break. Beautiful way to start off the game. But it's been Hammertron Fusion ever since. And admittedly, Hammertron's run to the semi-finals has seen them with a pretty high point differential. 13-3, 13-4 throughout most of pool play. Not conceding that many points. So it stands to reason, having had that first bite from the Stingray side, they're really wanting to ramp things up. They're wanting to put this one away as soon as they can. Stingrays, they've got a while ahead of them, but again, we've seen them come back from a situation like this before. And in fact, the team that they had that same comeback against, playing in our other semi-final. So they're clearly a semi-final caliber team. They belong here. They've earned their spot. Now is the chance to put it on display for those of you watching at home. Stingrays first to break the huddle. Only a couple of adjustments probably need to be made to tighten things up for them. A little bit more patience will go a long way. Dodd, Wilson, Pugh, Martin, the other Pugh, the other Wilson. Certainly makes our jobs as commentators a little bit easier if we only actually have to know 3 or 4 names, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Once again, it's going to be Jaden Frost with the desk for the pull for Hammertron Fusion. Supported by Wilson, Varley, Monsell, Palmer, Bertram, Brassington. Here it is. Pull goes up.
Massive.
Lot of heat on that one. Going to touch down exactly where they want it. Fielded by Martin, but Monsell, aggressive on the chase. Has to force them sideways. Up and over with the elevator pop pass. Pugh puts it up. You could hear that come off Breyer's hands. Vaughan Wilson with the touch. Recovered by Varley. Finds Palmer near sideline. Chipping through the middle. To Frost. Wilson available as a reset. Monsell surveying the midfield, waiting for his time to make his move. It's wide open now as the defense is trying to close in. Up and over, great defensive pressure by Pugh is going to generate the turn. That's what the Stingrays need if they want to stay in it. Pugh stretching deep. Palmer calling for help. Jake Martin with the shimmy. Slight overthrow, but they're able to get it. Finds Pugh far sideline. Puts a big shot up. Looking for Ollie Pugh. A huge bid from Wilson. There's going to be a foul called.
Yeah, and as we see that replay there, there's no doubt in his mind that affected his ability to catch that. But discussion needs to be had between the two players to ultimately decide what the outcome of that call will be.
Well, I can see the argument. I think Wilson trying to make his case that, well, I'm unsure really what his case is. I guess sort of players picking their own lines, whether or not Hugh would have actually had the disc, regardless of if he'd already had it kind of tumble out of his hands before that contact was made. I think there's definitely contact there that interrupted Hugh's ability to jump for it. So it's pretty reasonable. They're going to contest that call. It's going to go back to Bevan Pugh. Bit of an interesting resolution to that one. Just considering.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with calls like that when it is contested that it has to go back so far, but that's just the way that the game is.
Finds Martin on the wide field reset. Some early give and go work before exploding into the deep space. Comes back around. Martin marked by Marcel. Far side reset. Wide and around to Martin. Probably the most emphatic jump cut I've ever seen. But
Massive
Frost shuts
save.
down with the block.
You can tell he really had some oomph behind that one.
Oh, yeah. That's just Jaden Frost all over, really. Marcel with the scuba. Wilson just outside of the end zone. Varley again. That same front corner, that same crossfield cut. Puts HAMMERTRON Fusion at 6 over the Stingrays 1. Stingrays offense. Some familiar names. Hughes, Allen, McCormick, Linton, Penny, Jones. Against the HAMMERTRON defensive line, we've got Lawrence, Dio, Johnson, Ball, Brun, Ludlow, and Miller. Simone Ball. A HAMMERTRON staple. Historically a prime player, but with a pretty good justification for taking that step back to Division 2 this season. Here in Allen in power position. Finds McCormick on the up line. Inside shot. Ball gets a touch but can't shut it down. Picked up by Penny. Resets to Hughes. Hughes with the late turning hammer over to Cobain Jones to put their second point on the board. Stingrays 2, HAMMERTRON Fusion 6.
And the Mount doing a great job of trying to get that disc and working it on the sideline there. We've seen them work it up the field through just that sideline there from the Kindred versus the Mount game. And we know that they are able to get it off that and convert that to a score. And we've just seen that again.
Huge shoulder throw from Hughes. I think that hammer was all muscle at that point. So we're going to get to see some Stingrays defense, which we know is a huge part of their success in the tournament so far. Jake Martin with the disc for the pull. Oh, no. It's going to be a female majority point. So it'll be one of the female matching players with the disc for the pull.
And we haven't seen Martin on the point in that arrowhead zone this game yet. His wide wingspan there.
Dickie, take like 6 steps to the right, please.
How about I just go backwards? Wouldn't that be easier?
Danica Wilson with the pull.
Nice amount of float, pushing towards that far sideline, touching early. We're seeing the HAMMERTRON player set up in a side stack. And so it's going to be a called play. We've got 2 Dio and Wilson initiating against the Stingray zone. Resets to Wilson. Some early give-go movement. We're seeing that side stack peel away. They're going to have to fold back into their usual structure. The called play wasn't able to go. Palmer losing yards but keeping it in possession. Finding Alex Dio on the quick reset. Pinned down on the sideline and aggressive Jake Martin putting the pressure on the defense, supported by Haley Dodd on the near side wing. Goes to Palmer. Palmer back across to Varley. Varley to Dio. Dio back to Wilson near sideline. Puts the flat huck up looking for Bertram. Two-handed take and it's a score. HAMMERTRON go to 7 over the Stingrays 2.
Really effectively using those swings there, not letting the front of that killer zone really get in their way to put up that huck downfield.
Huge work there by HAMMERTRON, taking them 1 away from half. But again, I mean, we've said it a couple times, you know, the Mount have been here before.
They have, and they've come back from worse.
Yeah. But again, aggressive HAMMERTRON defense is going to be enough to take them into the second half with a good and comfortable lead. Kind of what we'd expect from a HAMMERTRON side that's, as we've mentioned, almost running a little bit more XY. Not through any active planning, but largely due to player availability. We've got players who have historically played in that prime team who have joined this fusion side. Still quite a small roster, but there's a huge amount of skill present on this side. Dio with the disc. Huge pull, arcing over the field. Fielded by Nixon. Linton, Nixon, some early work, keeping the disc moving. HAMMERTRON staying with. Almost a match defense now. So having shifted away from that zone structure. Linton goes up and over. Johnson's the one with it. Alex Dio is an early reset, uncontested by Cobain Jones. A little bit out of position, looking like they might have transitioned to a zone for the Stingrays. Johnson through, but Nixon gets in the way, the brick wall. Aroha Hughes putting it nice and long, but to whom? Cobain Jones with a great rundowns, not going to be enough. Some good territory for them, but HAMMERTRON, their play style at the moment is a lot of short stringing passes. They're not overly reliant on those big hucks, and so that huck and D might not work to the advantage of the Stingrays as it has against teams like Kindred. Wilson working with Johnson, goes wide, finds ball. Wilson in motion on the far sideline. Only Lawrence in the downfield. Ball gets it in power position. Lawrence, Rockard manages to get the read. Connecting with Linton. Sideline to Hughes. Taking their time getting it back. Centre field, we've got Mackling. Touches low. Hughes takes a knee but keeps it off the turf. Wilson gets involved.
Just trading absolute insane blocks at this point of the game. This point, creating a lot of intensity there on defense.
Big long shot, too much for Dio to run down. That foot turnover though, that pace, good grief. What speed.
Taking their time to set up, to generate a lot of movement. hopefully downfield and to convert that into a score.
Rockard takes it down, marked by Dio. Up and over, finds Cobain, Jones, Nixon already stretching into the deep space. Kapoor in hot pursuit. Dio gets a touch. Hughes goes to ground but couldn't quite connect. McCormick stops the early shot through the ball. Quick 1-2 to Dio again. Johnson there as a reset, goes wide to Mossip instead. Wilson available as support. Hughes cutting off the reset to Johnson. They have to go close quarters. There's a call made. It's a timeout. Pretty reasonable one. This point in particular, we've had a lot of turnovers. So what our sideline analyst Tim Goodman would refer to as a long point. Few turnovers on each side. Great time to call a timeout. They've been out on the field, running hard. Keep in mind, folks, we don't typically have rolling subs in an ultimate game, especially not at this level. Subbing typically will only happen at the end of a point or during an injury. So those 7 players on the field, they're out there until the point is done. So taking this moment for a timeout, not a bad shout. However, the statistics on taking timeouts in the middle of a point don't often favor the offense who takes that timeout. So we'll see how that resolves in just a moment. What do you think, Emily? We've got HAMMERTRON. They're on offense now. They're in their own half. They're working forward. What can the Stingrays do to generate that turn and maybe close this one out?
I think we've seen the effectiveness of their zone. We've got a few different people playing up the front there. Might just be because they are fatigued from the amount of intensity they've been playing at in previous games as well. And so just wanting to tighten that with the new set of people. We've seen how effective that zone can be, but HAMMERTRON Fusion just managing to find those really small pockets and really executing those throws to an insane amount, really. And I guess that just goes with the amount of really athleticism and the wisdom on that team as well.
You got a lot of seniority, a lot of experience at this level and above. Some former Worlds players, some current Worlds players, even on that prime side. Players who have just recently represented New Zealand at the Masters level as well. So there's that combination of the youth and fitness and explosiveness and a lot of wisdom and experience, as you say, from some of those older heads. HAMMERTRON setting up in their hex structure. It's Johnson and Wilson back. Mossip in the center. That's where we're looking that initiation cut to come from, most likely. Wilson goes for an upline immediately. We do see Mossip stretching deep into that far sideline. Continuing up the sideline to Dio. Back to Wilson. Gets a bite out of McCormick. Nice and active. Some quick chippy passes. Hoping to finish things here. Losing yards but keeping a good position. Dio putting them through the spin cycle. Gets a bite out of Hughes. Goes back to Johnson. There's a touch from McCormick, and that's going to be enough to send it to turf. The Stingrays with a shot. Mackling, far sideline. Manages to reset to Hughes. Cobain Jones. No, it's Alex Dio out of nowhere. You could see it happen. Big crossfield peel as you can see that throw going up. One of the perils of those long throws, it does give the disc a lot of travel time, and defenders like Dio have a great opportunity to make the most of that flight time to get involved in the play. Quick turn back to offense now. It's Kapoor. Big hammer across the top, looking for Mossip. Slight overthrow is going to give the disc back to the Stingrays. Maybe not the best option there. Linton goes to Nixon, marked by Kapoor. Loses yards, but finds the player. Hughes on an undercut to bring them back into a strong position. Rockard, foot on the line, so it's going to be out, unfortunately. The line doesn't constitute part of the playing field. So it's a turn to give the disc back to HAMMERTRON after that timeout. McCormick, so active, stopping those early passes to get the disc into the hands of the very competent ball. Going back to Dio by way of Lawrence. Through to Morse. Lawrence there for support. Ball is an option, but the windows are closing. Dio has it far sideline. Past the hands of Hughes to find Wilson. Cobain Jones trying to get in the way, but Johnson to Dio to Johnson. They're away with it. Wilson unmarked. Hughes closing off that near side front corner. Wilson can't see Johnson, who's got his hands up wide open at the back of the zone. Ball has it in the front corner. All of the defensive players crowding that space. It makes for a terrible window. HAMMERTRON have the chance to use the width. You've got Kapoor, you've got Lawrence, you've got Mossip, unused on the far side of the field. They could keep the defense moving, choosing instead to focus down that narrow channel. There's the width being used. And now a chance to swing it back the other way. No, straight into the middle for Abby Lawrence, and the score and the half. HAMMERTRON Fusion have just gone 8 over the Stingrays 2.
And it's really great to see the immense patience with the disc there from HAMMERTRON Fusion, not taking options that aren't reliable. They're really treasuring the disc, resetting that one back, and then taking those opportunities when they present themselves.
Yeah, really, really solid finish by HAMMERTRON there. So we're going to take a little bit of a halftime break as we come back to the second half of this exciting semi-final between HAMMERTRON Fusion and the Mount Stingrays. But until then, my name is Blair Monroe.
And my name is Emily Stone.
And thanks to the team here at ULTI.TV, bringing you the coverage from the Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships 2025. If you like what you see and you want to help us keep bringing the very best sport in the world to your screens at home, head on over to patreon.com/ULTI.TV and give us your spare change. We'll be back very soon.
We're all in this together. We may not be able to completely change the landscape, but what we can do is provide our little support for grassroots projects that are making a profound impact. And what we know is that when we make a profound impact in our own backyards, in our own communities, it ripples across the world. If we all looked in our own backyards to make that change there, then the world really does become a better place, and that's what we're committed to achieving. Well Energy Trust supports energy solutions and investments which enable our communities to thrive, now and into the future.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finny, he's done it. Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable. And credit to Flik and Maehr.
That was absolutely incredible.
Lost to Kindred, which is why they're there. Yeah. Bigfoot must have beaten. Who else have we got? Sorry. And so we are back for the second half of this exciting semi-final coverage for the 2025 New Zealand Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships here in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. I'm going to get it out clean one of these days. Stingrays on your screen at the moment, playing out of the dark and orange kits from the Mount. Masters, Allen, Reed, McCormick, Henny, Linton, Hughes. Some really, really solid defensive players. We know that the Stingrays have proven themselves, certainly on stream, to be a second half team. So this is their opportunity here. But by the same token, HAMMERTRON Fusion, to the best of our knowledge, remain the only undefeated team throughout the tournament. Other two teams who went 4-0 from pool play, Manawa 2 and Ikigai Mainlanders, neither of whom made it into the semi-finals. So despite those impressive pool play performances, they'll be finishing in the 5-8 bracket. So, the Mount, having earned their spot in the top 4, facing off against the only undefeated team who are looking to and are hungry for winning the entire thing.
And we've seen the Mount a lot this game, pulling out their classic zone that they've been pulling out in a lot of their games. Not particularly the same people that we've seen in previous games, but still working effectively, but HAMMERTRON just finding those pockets and that spacing to be in to convert those into scores.
Frost with another monster pull. High angle, it's going to start to blade down, but it's fielded off the hands of Masters, and that's a turnover, folks. An opportunity to win things here. A big play straight out of the half. That's what HAMMERTRON Fusion were wanting. Uncharacteristic by Masters. Normally such secure hands. A lot of experience there, but just as the fatigue starts to set in, we've got Simone Ball with the disc, goes back to Johnson. Frost available as a reset. Used. Dio in the end zone tries to go too low. A golden ticket for Stingrays. Out of the frying pan. McCormick's got it. Far sideline. Resets middle. Finds Allen to Nixon. Penny starting to stretch the field deep. Up and over. Masters has it. Reed goes back to Linton. Up and over. Masters has to move, but he's got it in hands. Wants to put one up. Johnson jumps to shut down the option. McCormick's there. Marked by Dio. Up and over. Dio snatches it. Ball puts it long, looking for Vali. He's got it. Ludlow in hot pursuit. Dio's there as an option on the far sideline, working again with a 1-2 punch with Vali to Dio. Back to Frost. Can they close it out here? Ball to Dio. And again, back to Ball. Some quick disc movement might see them walk away with a bigger lead. Ball again. Johnson puts it through. Manages to find Megan Ludlow for the score as HAMMERTRON Fusion go up to 9.
Seeing that amazing amount of space that Megan Ludlow had holding and punching that one through for the score.
Great finish there by HAMMERTRON Fusion. Slowly inching towards success, towards a spot in the final match. Stingrays, their chance at a gold medal, slipping away now, but not impossible yet. A late rally in this half. Going to see things shake up a little bit. Hugh, both Wilsons, Allen, Ringstead, Martin, Dodd on the line for the Stingrays. Wilson, Frost, Varley, Palmer. Richardson, Brassington, and Bertram for Fusion. We see the hand go up. Long pull. Martin to Wilson. Back to Martin early as the defense starts to close things through. Wilson to Pugh. Back to Martin. To Cam Martin now. Jake Martin puts the spin on. Wilson, hands up on defense. Back to Jake Martin, near sideline. Oh, a hand block from Wilson. What a read.
And that one was heard across the sideline.
Told they can't switch it. Disc a little wobbly. It's going to be interesting. You can see how it spins through the air. Bertram there as a reset. Finds Jaden Frost. With Wilson now near sideline. Dodd trying to shut that lane early. Brassington circling back to make her an option. Palmer, Varley, Richardson stretching into the deep space. Managing to slip past Ringstead. Wilson gets it from Palmer, the zone defense. Martin working hard to head that defensive structure. Goes back to Frost instead. Wilson calling for players to stay out of the deep space, to let them use those small passes, the strings of passes that have worked so well for them so far. Bertram goes long now, Brassington chasing. Richardson's there with good hands.
Great to see her coming back to attack that disc, not letting the Mount score a defense.
Varley and Bertram working together now. Low finds Bertram. Big fake to try and shift the defense. Frost can find Wilson near side. Up to Briar Bertram for the score. That takes HAMMERTRON Fusion to double digits. 10-2 against the Stingrays. Calling for a switch disc now. After that meaty block by Wilson, putting a significant bend in it.
Yeah, you can really see the wobble of the disc there affecting a bit of the play, but not phasing Fusion there, converting that into a score.
I do have to wonder if that's what kind of incentivized that call for the players to come back into the shallow space. Keeping them deep, while a lot of the HAMMERTRON players have the capability to throw a disc that far, when it's got that little bit of a bend in it, that instability in the disc just gives a defensive team like the Stingrays a good opportunity to get involved.
Yeah, it's just another bit of unpredictability that people don't want in a game when playing offense. And the pull goes up. Falling just around that brick mark there.
It's going to be Allen to pick it up. Marked by Ludlow, Miller and Brun in the start of that zone. Hughes gets it through to Penny. Miller shuts that one down. Good pace from the Stingrays, but it requires that precision. Dio again with the spin move. Finds Lawrence. To Dio again. Lawrence, Dio chipping around that zone. Just 1-2, 1-2. Nice short passes. Kapoor falling back into the handler space. Brun stretching out into the deep. Mossop available as an option, but he decides to go far sideline. Finds Micah Miller. Back to those 1-2s. Short give go. But it requires control. A definite travel call there. Sam Masters playing the role of TSA agent today. Abby Lawrence with the disc against the zone, deciding to work back, finds Dio again. Mossop there is the reset. Dio to Kapoor. Brun available on that near sideline. Micah Miller clogging in that space as well. Trying to create as much room in front of the disc as they can. Just working through that Stingray zone, as opposed to necessarily dropping yards and trying to go around it. Finally capitalizing on the width of the field. Back to Miller in the midfield. Dio to Lawrence. Miller's an option. Faked off, trying to pull Alyssa Reed out of the way for the Stingray zone. Trying to make holes for Fusion to keep going. Scuba over the top finds Miller. Dio doing a huge amount of work for this Hammertron offensive line. Miller back to Dio. Lawrence there as an option. Alyssa Reed closes the traps. Winds up the hammer. Double pump. Decides against it. More give go. Brun with the disc. Around Hughes. Miller. Static in the end zone and still wide open.
I believe that's a bookends then. Miller scored that run through D.
Definitely. Yeah, great call there. Doing it both ways. Good two-way performance there by Micah Miller to take Hammertron Fusion to 11 over the Stingrays 2. Frost with the pull for Hammertron Fusion. Big rip.
Very reliable pulls there from Frost.
Kieran Allen watching that one into his hands. Masters to Allen. To Linton, far sideline. Hughes getting involved in the midfield. And so Hammertron currently up by 9, our other semi-final, currently in favor of the side from Australia. So our final looks to be shaping up, although it could be anybody's game on the other field. Allen getting involved, keeping the Stingrays alive, goes with Linton, working that far sideline. Richardson at the front of that defensive zone. Varley there in support as well. Every fake draws the defense in. High angle blade, Hughes underneath it. Frost is going to be there to shut it down. Cobain Jones closing down that early first pass to Wilson. Has to go in close to chip through the zone. One-hand take from Bertram. Working the far sideline. There's a touch on it. Allen says no. Kieran Allen in motion, goes back to Masters. Morcel too close to let that pass one go through. Now there's the reset, losing yards. Kieran Allen's there, marked by Varley, puts a hammer over the top, finds Rockard, goes to Hughes. Penny was an option, looked off in favour of the safe reset to Masters as he backfills that handler space. Allen to Masters again, just trying to keep the stall count low, holding possession. A blade and a strike cut to Linden. Comes back to Allen. Linton again, working through that midfield. Nice to see the Stingrays in motion after those throws. Strike cut from Allen, going to be rewarded by Masters. Wilson on the mark now. Up and over, lots of jumps. Brian Bertram with a big chase, but it's Cobain Jones who comes down with it to put the Stingrays back on in this half as we go 11-3.
Yes, a wonderful effort for the Stingrays. That energy has definitely picked up for this point. Allen being a reliable reset handler there, generating a lot of that movement for the Mount Stingrays.
.70 minutes in. 11-3. The points definitely favouring HAMMERTRON and Fusion at the moment, but those points have been long. Stingrays have worked hard. They've worked hard offensively. When they've given up the disc, they haven't given Fusion easy points. I think that's one of the best things. Regardless of what the scoreline does, that's something they can definitely take away from this with a sense of pride. They have made Fusion work for every one of those points.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many of those points are clean holds from HAMMERTRON Fusion or whether a lot of those are dirty holds and the Mount generating a lot of those defensive turns.
Pugh with the disc. Two Pughs, Dodd, Ringstead, Wilson, Cam Martin and Jake Martin on that line. Some solid defensive structure. We're going to see Jake Martin take off. Ooh, not one of those early sprinters. Likely not to be the start of that zone. Fielded by ball goes to Johnson. Jake Martin parked in the middle, the heart of that zone, trying to make his presence known elsewhere on the field. Varley on an undercut. Not given the up line. Swing and swing. Johnson, it bobbles from the hands of ball. An opportunity. Martin's going to pick it up. Putzing it up. Looking for Dodd. Dio, too aggressive. He's not going to let it happen.
Came out of nowhere.
A no-fly zone put in place by Alex Dio. Goes to Johnson in their own end zone. Finds Miller. Ludlow stretching deep. Off Pugh's back shoulder defensively. Overthrows Mossip to give the disc back to the Stingrays. There's a chance here. Pugh early, supported by Martin. The remaining players downfield in a vertical stack. The other Pugh cutting towards that front corner, trying to be aggressive. Varley on defense. Cam Martin here. Overthrown. The disc goes back to HAMMERTRON. Trying to get it quick to Johnson. Instead looks for the long shot for Varley. It's Pugh who's under it. Varley with the right hand. What a take. HAMMERTRON Fusion go to 12. 3 away from a win.
You gotta love a bit of skybox in the end zone there. A bit of competition to box out the other player. But HAMMERTRON Fusion, Varley coming down with that disc. Great read.
Yeah, honestly, like before they went up, just looking at the height matchups, knowing a little bit about the athleticism of that players, I would say that was 50-50 at best. Pugh could have just as easily come down with that, but Varley wins it on the day. Just the timing
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it looks like centimetres that Pew almost had that disc in his hands.
Absolutely. It's going to be Bertram with the disc for the pull for HAMMERTRON. 3 away from a win. Stingrays with a long path ahead.
And still with 18 minutes on the clock.
I mean, if we do a little bit of cheeky maths, we're looking at 15 points total across about 71 minutes. That's roughly 4.5 to 5 minutes per point at this point. Which, again, is a testament to the fact that Fusion haven't had it easy. Even though the scoreline is heavily favouring them, they've had to work for each of those. The Stingrays have put up an impressive performance to slow down that HAMMERTRON momentum.
Yeah, and a lot of these points varying in the times as well. We've had a couple short points and a couple of very, very long ones as well.
Nixon goes to Hughes, back to Nixon, and then in motion. Zone defense again from HAMMERTRON. Loses yards, but gets Allen. Keeps pushing to the far sideline, finds Linton. Through the middle outside the outstretched hands of Kieran Maunsell. Hughes calling for it. Johnson pinches, but leaves an opening. Wilson to Hughes near sideline. Big hammer across the top to Nixon. They're making progress here. Linton's got it. Allen, easy 1-2. Richardson pinching the high and across. Nice attempt by Palmer, but Nixon to McCormick for the score. Stingrays 4. HAMMERTRON Fusion giving that one up.
Great point there from the Stingrays.
Such a good point. Really clean hold. Really well-structured offense. Love to see that in the semi-final.
Really capitalising on those pockets that they could find and executing those throws to each other.
Again, great attempt by Palmer, but the momentum carries her out of position.
Leaving that shot wide open.
Nixon straight to McCormick, right in the front of the end zone. Dodd with the disc. Martin, Verbeek, both Wilsons, Ringstead and a Pew on the field for the Stingrays. We're seeing again that HAMMERTRON side stack. 4 players on that near sideline. Micah Miller alone in the inside space. Vaughan Wilson undercutting off that side stack. Ludlow trying aggressively to stretch the deep space, but the zone defense closes it down. They lose yards instead, collapsing back into the usual structure. Simone Ball has Lawrence on that far sideline as Wilson closes in. Martin now, long arms, very aggressive, shutting everything down. What's available? Dio manages to get it. Oh, big touch from Verbeek for the turn. Despite Dio playing through Wilson to get that in hands, the next pass doesn't come away. And then it goes back. Dio to an open Miller in the midfield. Back to Ball in power position. Miller slow to get that continuation. Disrupting Ball's momentum a little bit. Lawrence squeezing, pulling out, finds Ludlow. Martin again, active arms. Losing yards, finds Dio. Using the width of the field now. Goes back to Lawrence. Wilson in front. Martin at the head of the zone. Dio to Miller. Ludlow takes the blade, far sideline, not too far from the end zone. There's Wilson. Lawrence cutting towards the upline. Dio calling for the disc. Scuba comes up and over. The zone's nowhere to be found. One shot right through the ball. Dio again. Can they finish it here? Just running it in, up and over. Micah Miller for the score. HAMMERTRON Fusion hitting 13 points over the Stingrays 4.
Yeah, looking like that front of the zone looked a lot more fatigued than they have usually. The iconic trio, Dodd, Wilson and Martin up the front there, but not quite able to create the amount of intensity that they have previously. It's getting on in the tournament and it's a tough game. High intensity, a lot of energy being used out on the field.
As we move into the closing stages of this match, both teams still coming out firing. Huge amounts of energy to be spent here, even though both of these teams have another game to play. Morse with the big roller pull. Oh, just past the hands of Nixon. That's what they're looking for. The big man in hot pursuit, big chase. Can he stop the first pass? Yes, he can. The HAMMERTRON Fusion zone able to get through to Rockard. And Hughes manages to get it far sideline. But there's a lot of running for only 3 passes so far. Nixon gets back to Hughes. Bertram on the mark. Rockard takes it midfield. A little bit trapped. Allen shakes free of Kapoor to be the reset. Linton being called all the way through. Palmer slowly closes, losing yards, goes back to Allen in the midfield. Rockard takes it. Not really gaining anything from a positional perspective. But it's better to have possession than position. Allen goes wide to Nixon. Alyssa Reed there is an option on the far sideline, instead preferring to favour the middle of the field. Goes past Kapoor. Hughes, Linton in motion, gets it over Palmer. Allen. Oh, what a great reach, but it's not going to be enough. Heartbreak there. That's the kind of kind of catch you'd expect Kieran Allen to make. He's normally very sort of explosive and springy, a lot longer than you'd give him credit for. Those leading passes, I think his bread and butter, really. Morse puts it up, looking for Bertram. Rockard's in pursuit. Oh, there's a foul called immediately. Contact on the play. Varley making a great chase to be that second option if Bertram came down with it. So Briar saying as she went up, reaching with both hands, Rockard came from behind. It's like possibly bumped her off the disc, I think, would be the argument. They're going to contest that foul. So the disc is going to be sent back to Kieran Morse. But if anyone on that HAMMERTRON side can put that same throw up twice in a row with consistency, it's probably him. That said, knowing that they've got that Connor Rockard patrolling that deep space, it's probably going to be a little bit more patient as we reinitiate this offense. There's no motion. We're coming in from a dead disc. First option with the defense where they are is going to be looking to recenter and think about how to move the disc down the field. So much, much shorter. Varley takes it this time. Palmer hitting the up line. 2 hands just in front of the end zone. To Brassington. Zara Brassington for the score as HAMMERTRON Fusion go 1 away from a win.
working that sideline. Just one after the other, those continuations.
I've had Zara on a couple of my indoor hat teams. She's a monster. Oh, what a way to finish that point there for HAMMERTRON.
Absolutely.
So HAMMERTRON sending out what they hope will be their last line.
Bit of final discussion on the line there with HAMMERTRON. Likely speaking about what positioning they are going to take in a zone play potentially.
Yeah, so Lawrence giving Ludlow a little bit of information there about mark positioning. So I could imagine we're going to see a big sprint from Ludlow to put her at the front of the zone. Micah Miller leading the pack. Not enough to stop the first couple of passes. Allen, McCormick, Linton. Goes to Wilson near sideline. Allen stalking back in the handle of reset space. Kapoor with the run through. Quick to Micah Miller. Putting it away. Lehigh Kapoor with the bookends there.
Absolute insane play there. And did it with his hair down. Running so fast, it was just flying back.
Yeah, just a huge way to finish that game for HAMMERTRON Fusion. A run through and off to the races before putting that one away at the hands of Micah Miller and Lehigh Kapoor. A phenomenal performance from both of these teams. Stingrays still giving a huge amount of energy. They've still got one more game to play. An opportunity for them to walk away with a bronze medal still. And we'll hopefully have their match covered relatively soon. But for now, HAMMERTRON Fusion will be taking their rightful place in the finals. And when we come back, we will let you know who they will be facing for the top spot in the Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships 2025. Hosted here in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton at Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato, one of our sponsors, in addition to the Well Energy Trust. Huge thanks for watching. Stay tuned, team. We're going to keep at it. And if you like what you see and you want to help us keep bringing it to your screens, head on over to patreon.com/ULTI.TV and give us your spare change. Until then, my name is Blair Monroe.
And my name is Emily Stone.
And we will be back very, very soon.
ULTI.TV.